Welcome to Mindful Blerd. I'm your host, Goofy Wise.
Non-motivational speaker. What's up?
Yes, sir. We are here to get deep about politics, about spirituality, about the blurred identity, and merge it with TV shows, movies, and all that good stuff. Today we're getting into Interview with a Vampire. And I didn't feel like we could do this episode justice if we didn't get Fantastic fucking Frankey on the motherfucking mic with us. God damn it. Welcome, Fantastic Frankey. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm so glad. So glad you watched that, man.
Yeah.
I am the Interview with the Vampire advocate. So anyone who gets a chance to watch it, I'm always like, especially once it was on Netflix, I was like, it's time.
It's time. And she hit me up and she was like, it's time, Goof. You need to watch it. And I had tried to watch it a while ago. It was good, but I was like, I watched it. Something else was happening at the time, and then she hit me back up and was like, "Bro, you gotta watch it." And I was like, "Fuck, I gotta."
The premiere is perfect. Honestly,
yeah.
There's few premieres that are perfect. I think Invincible. I think this.
Yeah.
I think Penguin. Like those are perfect premieres that could be films.
Yeah.
Like you'd watch it in the theater and just watch it by itself.
Good. It's good. Yeah. But before we get into that, because as much as I want to talk about that right now, I have so many thoughts, hot takes, all that good shit. We want to do our quote of the day, our quote of the week. And it being our guest, Fantastic Frankey. She brought a quote for us. Frankey, what is the quote?
By our good sis that hails from the Bronx, Ice Spice. If the party not lit, then why would I go? This is to encourage people to
hold on. You gotta let that breathe a little bit.
If the party not lit, then why would I go?
Yes. So what does that mean for you, Frankey?
If it's not worth my time, if it is not advantageous, like why would I benefit from being there? Yeah. Why would I give it the space? Why would I go?
Yeah,
why would I know?
Shit.
That's what she's saying. That's what she's saying. She was like, if there's no benefit for me, why would I attend?
Yeah, and it's immediately when you said that and started to break that down, I thought about the memes where they had Ice Spice next to Martin Luther King. You're talking about with
Diana.
Yes. So like, I think that's hilarious, but also I think it does actually bring up something that's kind of coming in my life right now, where I'm like finally stepping into my authentic self, and I'm creating boundaries for the things that I want in my life and don't want. You know what I mean? And what that looks like is like me deciding like what I enjoy and what I want, who I want to have in my life, and the things I want to partake in need to be for me. You know what I mean? And like I've been spending a lot more time like really just doing the things that I enjoy authentically, and not really worried about what other people are doing or where they're going. I'm just like, what is going to fill my cup? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the party not lit, why would I go? You feel me? So that feels great. Yeah. What about you, David? How you feel about that, man?
Just to like kind of dovetail off your joint, that was for me was that idea that like I'm constantly learning and discovering what makes sense for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of time it can get really easy. I mean, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but like to be obsessed with the past and to solidify that and be like, I'm definitely this person. 100%. I'm this person all the time. This is my new sort of rigid, authentic identity. And so what I've been really loving is like recognizing the authenticity in being able to discover like, you know what? I fucked with that yesterday. Yeah. I really don't care about that anymore. That's okay. I can put that down and I can move in a different direction. This is what makes sense for me today, and being okay with that and not trying to hold on to sort of a past idea of myself that doesn't necessarily make sense today.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of like being flexible in who you see yourself as, and not necessarily being too attached to one thing or the other as like, this is who I am. You know what I mean? And you are who you are outside of whatever you do or participate in or whatever, you know what I mean? And I think I can relate to that a lot. You know, it's definitely something I also have been feeling as well.
You know I mean? Like if the party's not lit today, why the fuck am I going?
Yeah. Exactly. The party might be lit next week. You know what I'm saying? Let me slide on in.
That's the thing about parties. It's not everlasting, right? They keep on coming. There's different parties to attend. So like, that party particularly is not lit. So why would you go?
Exactly. It might be a different party for you with people who are really ready to celebrate you. You know what I mean? In a way that There's another quote that I think is go where you're celebrated. You know what I'm saying? Be around the people that celebrate you. You know what I mean? And that's important. You know what I mean? In the words of Kendrick Lamar, also, sometimes we gotta let the party die. God damn it. We gotta let the party die.
Nah, you can't use that quote because he said that and then applied to be in the Grammys.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
I said, which one are you? Who are you, sir? You just was telling us fuck the Grammys, and now
now I'm playing. I think for him though, I think that he's like battling himself. This is a little off topic, but he's like battling the petty side of himself that wants to shit on Drake because he only submitted not like us. And he just wants to be able to say, this motherfucker got a Grammy, nigga, so I can use it. But then also the other side of him was like, fuck the industry. But he's like, which one gonna win, Kendrick? Which one gonna win?
At this point, why are you still shitting on Drake? Now it's not fun.
We have to have a Drake episode.
Yeah, we gotta have
Yeah, I think the concert was enough. The concert was the period. Maybe even the video.
Yeah.
The music video, which was actually the concert.
Yeah.
Period. He's gone. He's cooked. No Drake music all summer. First non-Drake summer in 2 decades. You're done. You cooked. You won.
He tried though. He dropped 100 gigs of data, bro.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He lost.
Yeah, he did.
He lost. He lost the public. Kendrick, you won. Enjoy.
Kendrick's always going to win the public because of capitalism, but that's a whole nother video.
That's all. You're right.
So
we're gonna have a motherfucking Drake versus Kendrick round table in this motherfucker. You're gonna get like 16 creators in that motherfucker. We just don't talk shit. Okay, all right, without further ado, the topic we came to talk about today, and is Interview with a Vampire. Just a quick, introduction to how I watched it. Frankie did recommend it to me, and I watched season 1. And the first thing I said after watching season 1 was "fuck Lestat."
But when did you say "fuck Lestat"?
At the end of the season. Yeah. I was like, "Fuck Lestat." You know what I'm saying? Really? And then I watched season 2, and I was like, "No." Frankie actually told me. She's like, "Remember that?" And I was like, "Fuck!" Like, you know how aunties be telling you, like, "Remember that?"
Remember what you said.
Yeah, it's something coming. Yeah, it's coming back.
Even in season 1, I remember like watching the first episode and thinking, I love Lestat. He's so charming.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fuck Lestat.
Yeah.
And then, but that's how you are with people that you deal with, right? That you're in love with. And we're seeing this through the eyes of someone who's in love with him. So it makes sense that getting it from a narrator like that, we would have the yo-yoing emotion because we never see an objective. The entire series, we never get an objective look at Lestat.
I'm sorry. True.
The one time we do is that final scene during the hurricane. It's the only scene that we actually see Lestat not through anyone's eyes.
Oh yeah, through himself. Yeah. So they announced season 3 already, which I'm excited because it's going to be a Lestat story this time, which is interesting. But also, I think what you were also getting at, which me and you kind of talked via text, where I was like, man, this shit kind of corny a little bit. And you said, what did you say to me? You said about that. You said it's literally because we're looking at the story through the lens of fucking Louis, who was looking back on this in romantic love and in the fog of new love. You know what I mean? It's like, of course it's gonna be hella cheesy because and I was like, damn, Frankie, that's a good ass thing.
Daniel says the same thing. He's like, oh, brother. He's talking about he's done all that stuff for me.
Yeah.
And even Daniel says when it's problematic, right? He's like, oh, so this white man just came up and did this for you? I'm like, Daniel, why are you reading him like this? The man's in love. Why are we doing this? But that's what makes Daniel such an incredible reporter that I don't think truly exists anymore because of corporations and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
He is genuinely curious. He's listening. He's asking probing questions, and he's looking at it from the outside looking in. He's not. These men are threatening his life, and he's still this stuff does not add
standing
up.
on business.
Story.
Yeah.
And it's excellent.
I think I love that point you bring up because as I was watching Daniel, there was a time where he asked a question that I had just thought myself, and I was like, damn. He kind of is like that critical viewer of the show itself. We're almost, it's like the show is so meta in that way because it's like, it's a recollection, and then it's also like, it puts in the interviewer And it's like he's asking the questions that we would ask. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Why is this? Why is that? And I'm like, this is actually, because it actually puts the show in a position where it's like, it's almost like subverting itself. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, this is a very unique story. On top of everything else we get into, you know what I'm saying? Which is like the race, the class, the trauma, the love. You know what I mean? Like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? David, I want to tag you in just really quick. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? Just the initial thoughts of the season, the show, the season.
Initial thoughts of the first joint was Lestat, man. Honestly, I kind of had a different feeling with Lestat. And I don't even know, only because I'm suspicious of a white dude that's trying to help you. Like that. Like it just I was a little like he a little too slick for me. I'm like, you're a little too slick.
Very slick. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anything, I know I feel like I was suspicious of I could tell I appreciated Louis being seen in that way, just being seen, like being like, hold up, you a boss, man. What you doing for these folks? But at the same time, I was very, very suspect of Lestat. And it wasn't actually until probably the sort of peak of season 1 where I was like, something felt incorrect about the portrayal of the story. Oh, specifically when they made Claudia, I was like, hold up. Because I was like,
weird.
This is a fucking weird thing. And I was like, I was talking to my wife about it because I made her watch it. I was like,
I don't know. That feels like a regular couple who's dysfunctional. Like, let's have a baby that'll bring us together. I think that's what Claudia's for. But
that's a great gem right there. Yeah, it does feel like that.
I think that's what it's supposed to be. But Louis, I agree. I think he's sus. What I feel like is sus about not Louis Lestat, it's not that he's white. It's that he's white and he pretends like he doesn't acknowledge his whiteness and pretends like he doesn't understand racism.
Wait, because we got a question about this.
This is so great. I'm so glad you said this because this literally is exactly what I want to talk about. I'm like busting from the seams right now. It's because is Lestat racist? Is Lestat racist?
Yeah, so racism has many tiers. I think there's definitely biases in racism, right?
For sure.
When they're first looking for people to eat and Louise having issues with it, every single person that Lestat chooses is Black. And then Louise the one to be like, let me get this white man, and then eats the white man. But everyone that he points out is Black. And he's like, these are criminals here, don't you see? But even in season 2, when we hear him discuss Louis, he brings up race. He's like, he has this chip on his shoulder, and he says it many times. And that's what I didn't like about Louis, is that he pretended like he didn't understand the nuances of race. Like he wasn't 400 fucking years old and didn't experience, see, and witness racism firsthand, and maybe not experience it, but he's seen like, I copped this Black shorty, I couldn't go to places with him, or he was, getting convicted for this, that, and the third. And he can read thoughts. He could hear these.
He knows. He knows.
He knows how they perceive Louis. He knows how. So he knows, and he pretends like he doesn't. I don't think he's racist in the way of like he believes that Black people are less. I think so. I don't know.
I think he's racist in the sense like I don't see color kind of racist. You know what I mean? Like I don't see. It's not the big deal to me. You know what I mean? Like it was a time where they brought up the history of like Louisiana, and he's talking about the artistry is so nice. It's like, and Louis like, did they tell you what in that book you read? Did they tell you what they did to Black people? And he's like, I haven't got to that chapter yet. I'm like, you little bitch. Yeah.
But that's because Lestat lives in flowers, rose-colored glasses at all times. And so whenever you're there and you want to break that reality and talk about something real, Lestat doesn't. And that's why he's so fucking funny. Because when he breaks it, he breaks character for a second, and then, he straightens himself up and goes back, right? She says, who's going to fuck me? And Lestat says, you're not my type. He tries to make it funny again, right? He says, I heard your heart's dancing. And he relaxes again. He says, why do you do this? And Lestat's like, I like to do it. He loses his temper, and then he goes back. And that's because Lestat is like, we're immortal. We're gods. Why are we bringing in emotions? Why are we bringing in these types of thoughts,
Race, these human thoughts. Like he almost feels as though is that he's above race. because he's like transcended, and he's like a god almost. You know what I mean? And he almost expects like Lestat to like work, or not Lestat, but Louis to kind of worship him in a way. And I think it's the relationship between them is very much a relationship where it's like Louis will always see himself as a black man first. You know what I mean? And I think that's a huge part of his character, and why him and Lestat have so many difficulties in the beginning. Like Lestat or Louis is like trying to eat rats and shit. And I think Louis is trying to eat rats and shit, not only because he's scared of becoming a vampire, but because he understands what it's like to be at the bottom of the totem pole. You know what I mean? And now he's at the top. You know what I mean? And he knows that black people are at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? And so this is like him, like almost like I can't be like a white person, you know, and just go emote through these people like this and eat all these human beings and shit. Because I know what it's like to be at the bottom of the totem pole as a black man.
Humanized.
Yeah, to be dehumanized. Yeah.
He was raised in a time, and even still, where they're saying we're 3/4 of a person. So now that same rhetoric is coming from Lestat when he's like, "Why are you? This is food," and he's like, "Nah," because before they were telling us we were, slaves, and I don't like that. But I think there's also nuances that, and that's something that white guy brings up to Louis, is that he was raised Creole, he was raised rich, and he was raised in this microcosm where racism isn't the same as it is everywhere else in America, particularly in the South. And once he gets to France, that racism shit leaves his mind. Once he's in there, we gonna fall. He's not thinking about it anymore.
That's facts.
That's why he doesn't bring it up to Santiago when he sees like how he treated like Claudia remains and just the minstrel show that he watched. He never brings it up again because that's out of his mind when he's in France.
Wow, he almost like becomes a whole new person in a sense.
And that was his goal.
Yeah, I think it was his goal, and I think he wanted to leave his old self behind with Lestat. I think there is a level of like he didn't feel powerful, and how season 1 ended. He didn't feel like he could stand up to Lestat and actually kill him, even though everything that he had done to him. So he like almost like tried to transform himself into a new person, a badass. I'm gonna pick up photography. I'm a badass now. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, you moved to a new city, nigga. You was a bum in your last city, nigga.
Do.
That's what they do. That's what they do. Yeah.
New gear. He picked a new profession, which he wasn't good at. And he does all these things, and he's like, he's not even acknowledging his pretty privilege, right?
For sure.
And how that's
and his wealth, his class privilege as well. You know what I mean? Because he's always been somebody with that
privilege when he goes to Paris. I don't think in Paris.
Oh, not in Paris. When he was home. When he was home. I mean, he grew up like that.
He was moving different. Yeah. I think also.
Go ahead, David.
Sorry. No, I was gonna say you also really see that it's like a child. So much of that relationship is very still childish, right? It's like when you were a kid and you idolize your parents, and like he had a very sort of idealistic idea of Lestat, of a lot of this shit about like, what humanity meant. And then when that parent or that figure or that situation fails you, it's like, well, fuck that. I'm gonna go change. I'm gonna do the new thing. Like I'm gonna be the new version. And I was super negative and traumatized back then, but I figured it out. I went to therapy. I know some words. I'm good now. Like you guys, like Lestat was like in a lot of ways, the two interview separations are him being like, that was then when I was like really broken, but I've got my shit together now. I went to France. Like
I'm more cultured now. I'm different. I got a new French boyfriend. You know what you saying, Frankie? Yeah.
No, I was agreeing with what you're saying. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. I also think that while I know we're on Louis right now, but I also want to jump back on fuck Lestat a little bit, because I think that nigga I think, David, you said something really interesting to me. You told me about, I want to give you the chance to expand on this, but like you told me about being a vampire is just all about control.
Oh, yeah. I was like trying to figure out the most like PC way of doing this, because I spent entirely too much time like breaking down actual vampires to my wife. So but just like they're very real. But like I feel like so much the essence of what a vampire is a like an over identification with control. Like it's if you take human consciousness to a certain point, so in yogic culture, right before you kind of reach what they call, enlightenment or whatever, there are these yogic powers called cities. And literally everything the vampires do mirror these yogic powers.
What's yoga? Where is that?
Yoga. I'm saying yoga.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, I've never heard of that country, but still.
No. Like when you're over the course of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is this like ancient yogic text, he breaks down all these cities and all these yogic powers that just kind of spontaneously happen. And when you're in yoga, you're taught to like ignore them because they're too much of a fucking temptation, right? Like being able to fly, literally do everything that you've seen the vampires do without the backlash. The temptation of that is the fact that you can really start to control shit, right? If I can get in and control all of my like your thoughts, I can be attractive, I can freeze things, I can go anywhere, be anywhere, buy whatever the fuck. Like the temptation for control is just out through the roof. And so in yoga, they tell you, let that shit go, keep on the path, and then eventually you break through. You have access to all those things if you want to, but it's not something you're chasing. Because if you're chasing control, then you become kind of a demigod, like crazy person. Vampires are the personification of not going past that. It's like vampires are only focused on that bit. Yeah. And in doing so, they breathe control. So he's like, I'm controlling Louis. I mean, first of all, the biggest aspect of control that you try to do is survival.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
The ego trying to survive is the first measure of control of the mind that you have. And so vampires trying to live forever, that's like the ultimate level of like, I gotta control everything, specifically like, how long I'm gonna live. And so you see that combined with how they treat everybody else. It's like, I need to control every aspect of things that are happening, and the more powerful and the older they get, the more they feel like they can control. And so the shitty part about being a vampire is that you fucking can't control. Like being a human, the recognition that there are certain things I can't control. And so you see the sort of back and forth over the course of these people's lifetime, and the sort of cyclical pattern of trauma and bullshit, because they're unwilling to let go of control of everything. Like they literally can't. It's built into everything that's about them. And so it's really interesting to watch the adults in the room, to watch the Lestats, the Armands, and how precise they are with exercising their control, and how like sloppy Louis is, and how like they're trying to learn, and like Armand, we'll talk about this too, but Armand is a fucking master cast and just like weaponizing vulnerability and just being like, I don't know, guys, I ain't just a nice vampire over here. Yeah, so
it's also fuck Armand over here too. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. For real. I don't. If you watch my recaps of season 2, you can see my whole journey where I'm like, Louis, and that's the thing I love, is that all of them are manipulative, all of them are terrible, and so it's hard to pinpoint who's the victim, and it comes down to who you really like. Armand had no allegiance to Claudia. She's an abomination in his head, and a murderer. Let's not forget she not like this innocent vegan vampire. And he was talking to his nuts. He was talking to his nuts for a while.
And he was breaking laws and shit.
No. At that dinner where Claudia came back, I'm sure he decided for sure. And before that dinner, he was probably still talking to him like he was some hoe. He was like, don't. He was like, don't give him compliments. His head's going to get big. And then I did not like the way Louis was talking to him. And we see that they're like, I don't know. They're both mutually destructive and terrible. I think what we perceive as like terrible for them, because they are gods, they are immortal, they are given a second life of sorts. That has to be recalibrated for their lifestyle and how they interact with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
The morality that shows up, the amorality that happens over the course of eons is something that they all explore, especially like, he's like, yo, these are our food. Like, what you mean, bro? Like, you don't give a fuck about that. Like, these are our food. And so like over the course of time, like the more the longer you live, the less shit matters to you, essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
And how old is Armand? He's like 5
years old,
right?
1700s or something. Like he was old as fuck.
Yeah. I think they're all worried very much about control. Like even the way Louis was like, who was like wasn't the best vampire, but even the way he was telling the story, like he was like controlling how the story was told. You know what I mean? And whether this is intentional or not, I'm not sure. But I think there's some part of intention there where he's like trying to make himself look like the good guy, and serving his own ego. You know what I mean? It's like it's all to protect their ego and their view of themselves, and it's like, as powerful as they are also extremely fragile beings at the same time. You know what I mean?
Every time Daniel would probe, he'd be like, he'd threaten Daniel's life, right? I kill you right now. Why you asking me? I'm like, the man is trying. You're
toughen up, nigga.
Your biography, and you're mad he's asking like follow-up questions.
Yeah,
you know. And what I love is that Daniel is so freaking likable.
Yeah, like for sure.
Everyone who I was like, I understand why Armand spared him twice.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like speaking to him, seeing how he talks, how he interacts. If he wasn't unconscious during that corner, which I'm probably sure he was like laying on the corner, like like going back to sleep. I'm sure he would have been asking questions like, and who's Lestat that you fight? Like who's all this? And I definitely think they try to control the narrative, and no more than Armand, who's quite literally erasing memories to put himself in a positive light. Because when you're alive your entire life, your legacy and your reputation is what you value most, because money and all that comes and goes. You're not tripping about that. You're like, I want to be perceived as fire. I want to produce it. And I think that's why they were all creative too, right? That's something that lasts. If I'm a doctor, I'm gonna heal a couple people and that's it. But if I create something, if I can create music, if I do this stuff,
I can create a vampire, and he loves vampire. Me. Yeah, and he's
everlasting.
Yeah. And I think in that way, Lestat was trying to use Louis to like love himself in the way that maybe he couldn't love himself. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of trauma with Lestat for sure. You know what I mean? And like, I think that he almost wanted like Louis. I think I said this earlier, that he wanted Louis to like worship him. You know what I mean? And like, he hated the fact that like Louis was his own person, and he tried to eradicate any version of that past self, like where Louis was attached to his humanity, his blackness. He tried to like just downplay it and not feed into that, even though he could see that, you know, that Louis, this was very important to Louis, but it didn't matter what was important to him, because Lestat's relationship with Louis was more about Lestat than it was about Louis at times. You know what I'm saying? And at least from our perspective of the story that was told, you know what I mean? And how much of that is the true is yet to see, you know, but I think that's a beautiful part of the story though. You know what I mean? And I think that even like when Louis got so angry that the white people fucked him over, you know what I mean? And he reacted in such a angry way, you know, and literally fucking killed the dude. By the way, do y'all think that was justified? What do y'all think about that? Do y'all think he should have clapped that back like that, or what do y'all think?
I think that that's in line with what it means to be a vampire, and I think that's a moment where Louis once again forgot where he was, and what it did, because the repercussions was a town of people were killed, and
white rage, white backlash. You know what I'm saying?
And he knows it. Just like he put up that sign talking about colors only, and then went in the back and kissed Lestat.
That was crazy. Like he was really swinging his dick.
Like,
though.
let's
I ain't gonna lie. Like, nigga, chill out. Yeah, he forgot who he was. It's like so interesting. Like he was almost like struggling to come back, like on the line of vampire human. Like you can't be both, bro. You can't be both.
And humans do that too, right? Childish Gambino will write a whole series about white women being evil. A whole series. He wrote a whole series where the thesis was white people are evil.
What is that, Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Oh, I haven't watched all that one. That's crazy. That's insane.
You can watch any episode in Atlanta. They're showing that white women are evil.
As someone who is born in Atlanta and raised in Atlanta, I'm really offended that you ain't seen that shit. I'm gonna be honest with you right now.
Oh, my fault.
It's kind of crazy.
Wait, my fault.
We being real is anti-black. I'm not gonna hold you.
All right, next episode, Atlanta, nigga.
No, we need a whole month. I do want to say something about that, though, just because like what you reminded me of is the sort of, I don't know if y'all experienced this, but like I feel like there's a sort of dehumanization that comes with like being Black a lot of the time, where people don't see you as a human, like as a fully fledged whatever. And like, I think a lot of the time you're fighting their perception of Black people in real time. Like you're watching them talk to you, but they're not talking to you, they're talking at you. And I know for me, like, especially with like other things that have happened, I think when I don't know, it's hard to say, like when you get more educated, you're a little smarter, you're a little more well-versed in things. It's hard to not like just unload on people in real time when you're like, hold up, man, do you know what the fuck you doing? Like I really felt that sort of power upgrade that Louis got in the first season when he was just like, bro, who you talking to?
Yeah,
like,
colors only, nigga.
Facts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Interaction with Lestat. That's why he was like, "Don't call me fledgling." Like he was sure to establish these boundaries and push for autonomy with everyone he's interacting with. And I think, you know, I initially read him as like this perpetual victim who everyone was shitting on. And rewatching season 1, because I rewatched season 1 after watching season 2. I realized that Louis is not nice, and he's never been nice. He's never been. The first episode, he points a gun at his mentally challenged brother.
That's crazy.
That was like the first time we meet him. And and he talks about it like, I take advantage of women. I'm doing all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. And everyone doesn't like him. His sisters don't like him. Like, people who he interacts with. And that's what the guy from the Talamasca was talking about. Like, Louis ain't no sheep.
Yeah,
like,
no, he's not. He's a wolf.
He's a wolf. We see that when Lestat tells his side, right?
Yeah.
He's always talking big. And I'm not excusing what Lestat did. Like, I was talking to my friend and they were like, oh, well, he dropped him from that height knowing he wouldn't die. I was like, if your man slapped the shit out of you, knowing you wasn't going to die, is that not still abuse? Are you not still saying like...
Yeah.
It didn't matter that he wasn't trying to kill him. He still was like, I need to enact violence to get you to do this. But it did paint things when Louis was like, I'll kill you right now. He was threatening his life.
Yeah.
But 2, that is the way that they kind of settle things amongst themselves. It's through violence. And so, I don't know. It's
very toxic ass relationship. Yeah, and neither of these niggas are squeaky clean. I think you said it perfectly when you said that Louis was not a sheep. He was a fucking pimp. You know what I mean? And I think he is trying, even though he experiences what it means to be like a Black man under a racist Jim Crow South, right? He is still like trying to view himself as the good guy, even though he was also taking advantage of women. You know what I mean? Unbeknown, and you know what I'm saying? And it's like you was never this good guy that you think you are, but he's almost like trying to control it and tell it as if he was. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, Goof, like wait, what if like, because I feel like, what if it feels like, because he feels like he was, everything that Louis was doing at the beginning of the show was very much like disconnected from a type of humanity, right? Like he's like, he's kind of like, I feel like a lot of his journey and being a vampire was him trying to be able to say, all right, I got space to actually discover the humanity that I never got a chance to actually experience. And it's like, you're beyond that now. Like you're on some other shit now.
Yeah.
And now you're like, well, you know, maybe I got some time to actually, and it's like, dog, you never worked that muscle. And so it's a weird thing for him to be like, oh, like I'm trying to remain human and be vegan and shit. Like, nah, dog, like you've been a monster from the jump. Lestat read you from the jump, bro. Like you've been really about that shit.
That's why Lestat liked him. If Lestat was this altruistic man, you don't think Lestat meant, but he said, this is a monster right here. And this is somebody who's going to match my freak. Because, that's what he said. That's what it means. He could read
that's facts.
He could read his deepest thoughts at the time. And he said, this is it. Because at the end of the day, Louis was dehumanized and he was treated as less than because he was a Black man. But there is one group who was below him, which was Black women. And so he enacted that power over those Black women.
Exactly.
And that's when I was like, you know what? Once I look back and was like, oh yeah, he's a pimp. All that talking about I'm a victim, it's so hard for a Black man. I'm like, but when you get a little bit of power, right? You
look
flex
what you do.
That muscle.
Yeah,
exactly. You do it. Yeah. It's not just that he took advantage of Black women, which is including Claudia, right? He had no choice in being turned.
For sure.
He also like he also chooses to like be on top, right? To be different, to try to be othered. And he put Black women who are disenfranchised and put them in a situation where they would be even worse.
Yeah.
And that's terrible.
Yeah, and I don't think it's intentionally. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it's like on the nose, like because my experience with the prostitute was like, I wouldn't say that she was like a happy person, but it didn't paint it in the life like this is so horrible. But it is ultimately horrible, and it shows
Louis
you.
Was telling us about her.
Yeah, and it shows you like at different levels, like Louis, Lestat, at different levels of privilege, it blinds you to the existence and the pain of other people around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're in a position of privilege, oftentimes, no matter who you are, you tend to exercise, your power over those people, regardless. If it even happens to you, and this is like something I get into with a lot of. I love my Black men, but a lot of times I get into this with Black men a lot because like they don't understand their position of, yes, you are also disenfranchised by white supremacy, but you also have this same position over women that you continue to flex and act as if there is no power differential in society. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like we need to see this because this is stopping us from unpacking the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Because you have privilege that you don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, constantly. I don't know. Like I'm married. Like I fucking literally every single day. I'm like, damn. I didn't even. My wife would be on calls at work, and like, I'm not even proud of this shit. But like when we were younger, right? We've been together for a long time, like 13 years. When we were younger, I remember she'd be like, "Oh man, people like talking over me and shit in meetings," and I'm like, on some day one therapy, toxic positivity bullshit. Well, I don't know, babe. Like maybe he had a good reason. I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe he didn't. That bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And like, that stopped very quickly, but. I will say my perspective shifted greatly during the pandemic when I got to sit in those meetings, when I was like overhearing them because she was in the same fucking room and she's literally saying a point in real time and nobody saying anything. And then a dude echoing it, cutting her off, saying the exact same bar for bar fucking thing. And everybody like, oh man, that was a great idea, Tom. Yeah, that's fucking. And I'm just like, nigga, what the fuck just happened? Like that's wild, bro.
Yeah,
sorry. I'm just that.
Don't apologize. I appreciate you for sharing it, and I want this to be a podcast where we bring up these issues. You know what I'm saying? Because it is a real life thing, and it fucking sucks, bro. And it's like you don't know what you don't know, and you can only do better when you know better. But it's like sometimes niggas don't want to know better because they're putting their own pain before everything else. You know what I'm saying? And I can say that as a man. I'm man enough to admit that I've also been in those situations and maybe not been the most supportive, person I could be, to a woman. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I've learned from those mistakes, and now obviously I can speak differently because I know differently. You know what I'm saying? And I know there's a path, but I think it is our job as men to kind of create that path for other men to kind of walk along and understand that there is space to grow and change and be a different and be a fucking good ally, bro. You feel me? Yeah. So I'm sorry now. I was a little too vulnerable.
No, we liked it.
I was a little too authentic right now. I was like, hold up, niggas can see me right now.
No, well, it's weird. It's a weird thing to do because like I feel like, and not even the, you know what, I'm gonna do this. It's the exact problem that Kendrick has, right?
Yeah.
It's the problem that every artist has, and because I felt the uncomfortability of you talking and also me talking is like the challenge is like, hey, here's a lesson that I failed at, right? Here's something that I failed at, and here's how I improved on that thing. The temptation is to go, did it, healed. All right, going to France. I'm a new person, and that is not the fucking case. I'm gonna do some dumb shit tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? And being able to ride that and be okay with the fact that, I failed. I picked that up, but I'm failing in other ways, I think is the challenge. Because the temptation is to oscillate between hero and piece of shit constantly, which is literally just Louis. Like, I'm the guy. No, I'm not.
Yeah. And thinking about him as a guy is hilarious. But I did love him, and I did love the change in season 2 a little bit. But I don't want to talk about that yet. I think I'm going too fast. Before,
what do you mean? I think we in season 2.
Yeah, we in season 2. Okay, cool.
I think so. I don't. And honestly, I'm gonna be real. I don't think we should be separating 1 and 2 because
that's fine.
They're written together.
That's fine.
And they kind of they're the same, right? More
or less. I appreciate that perspective. Yeah, I really do. Can I ask you guys this though? What was your favorite season?
2.
Did you have a favorite season? 2?
And to call it favorite is hard. Which
yeah.
I enjoy. because it painted in one. I think they're equally good. I think they're excellent. Like,
yeah, I think. Go ahead.
No, I was like,
okay, yeah, they're equally good.
Yeah.
For me, I think that I enjoyed the journey of season one. I didn't find the end of season one to be very climactic though. You know what I mean? And it was like the complete opposite. There was a parts in season 2 where I was like, man, I'm so tired of this fucking play. Leave the play, nigga. You got Claudia dancing around on no fucking stage for 30 minutes, nigga. Leave the play. But that ending reveal, nigga, nigga, I have you in my apartment, nigga, like, what the fuck? So they're kind of like inverse for me, you know, in a sense. But I do think overall it's a fantastic show. You know what I'm saying? From top to bottom. Yeah.
I love season 2. I'm an actor, so I fucking shit with my man. Because like when they come in on the play and he's doing this like heavy like theatrical acting, I'm almost checked out. Like I'm like, oh yeah. Like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like kind of as the audience. And then when he locks in and it gets real and he's actually acting, I was like, yo, stop. That man could have.
Everyone deserves an Emmy. To your point, we left Lestat in season 1 hating him, right? And wishing for his death. And in that moment, which we are hearing Lestat through Louis, right? This is Louis' version of Lestat. He's in that bank and he's reading that letter. And I was like, what did Lestat do again? Like immediately I started questioning, like, was Lestat that bad? They were in love. Small thing.
Oh, no, we lost her.
Sorry, Gary. We'll
get her back. We're going to edit this out. We're going to edit this out. Time out. Yeah. We're going to edit it out. That's crazy. That was, I mean, there she is there we go. They moved you out.
It happened in like 2 seconds. Where did it end?
Fuck.
Lestat. We end the season hating Lestat and he's reading the letter and you're like, wait.
Yeah. He's reading the letter and just even something like him saying, hey, if I'm dead, don't avenge me, because he couldn't even fathom that Louis would have a part in his death. So just things like that was like, they are in love. He loved Louis, Louis betrayed him. And I immediately thought Louis betrayed him, already having the knowledge of the reason why he killed Lestat. And it's just subtle things between the writers, the actors. The way Lestat is acting all in season 2 is so different. And then you have to remember, this is Louis' version of Lestat. And when we actually see Lestat come in the flesh, he's different. And that's because it's Lestat. Yeah, that's so subtle acting. His mannerisms, the way he talks is not as romantic. And I'm like, oh yeah, because this is a real person.
This is not a story. That's a great gem.
Stop. That's like gem. Yo, but that's the whole fucking like that. It's like a 2-dimensional cutout in Louis' brain, and it's like it's literally, you can almost feel the density of Lestat when he actually shows up. You're like, yo, wait.
You're not that big bad as I thought. Like even the way he was walking. I remember there was one scene where Louis was like imagining him in his mind. I don't know if he was really there, but the nigga was so saucy. He was like switching his hips and like he's doing all this. But when we saw this thing in the flat, he was like a much more mild version of it. Who he really was. Yeah.
Absolutely. Or even his thoughts. Right? There were a lot of things we didn't like about Lestat, and I realized this was things we heard about Lestat from Louis. Right? Lestat called Claudia a mistake. We never heard him call her a mistake. Louis' version of Lestat in his head called Claudia a mistake. Like it's just things like that. And I'm sure he's not been kind to Claudia. Like he did call her a mistake like in season 1, like when they were arguing. But all those times that he was like echoing that like she was a mistake and harping on that was Louis talking in his mind. And they did this thing in season 2 and why I like it a little bit better is they wrote themselves out of plot holes, right? There was a huge plot hole that everyone discussed on Twitter,
which was
when season 1 when Louis is first turned and he's talking to Lestat in his mind, right? And so when Daniel in the finale is poking holes in Louis' story, he brings that up. And the question is whether or not they put that in there because they made a mistake and they heard that we clocked it and then they fixed it, or if from the beginning they put that mistake on purpose. But the thing that's amazing about that, and the fact that there's even a debate, is that they wrote it in a way that every plot hole we see, everything that doesn't make sense, everything that we don't like can be attributed to the people, and the fact that this is all a third-hand account. Right? We're reading diaries where it's proven that she's a liar, right? We're hearing from a man that doesn't even remember the story, whose mind has been tampering with. And then we're also hearing from Armand, who's also a liar and manipulative. So everything we hear, if there's something if there's something that breaks canon, if there's something that we're like, this doesn't make sense, even from the rules that you guys set, it's because of the narrators. And that's why the Memories of Monster is so genius.
Frankie, to that point though, Frankie, can you talk about the recast? Because that was the first video I saw you talking about Interview with the Vampire, and I got up and I screamed. My mic's like, "What the fuck is going on?" I'm like, "Baby, this is so cold." Like, please talk about
Which
that.
I made up, right? They didn't say that.
No, it's great though. It's still great. It's still great though. It's still because getting into that whole aspect of like the Odyssey of Recollection, like his whole he's an unreliable narrator from through and through. You know what I mean? So how he could have envisioned Claudia at a certain time could be different, especially in season 2 when they were literally fighting. They were not on good terms. You know what I'm saying?
They walking through World War II Europe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she looks older. She looks more grown. Her hair's more natural. And essentially what I felt like, we all knew that Bailey Bass left to do Wave the Water, which, good for her.
Yeah.
But we can also perceive it. And if they really wanted to lean into it, they could have showed Claudia again. And she was like 5 this time. But, it's Louis doesn't remember Claudia. And what he does remember is what he idolized about her, what he read about in her books. So I think Bailey Bass's Claudia was so much more romantic, so much more softer. And this is not even, some people brought up colorism, but I think what's her name is like, Delaney is like 1 shade darker than her. Like some people are like, oh, that's why she's light skinned. I said, they're not that much different. Like they can be sisters. I don't think
they're like a Reese's cup apart, nigga. Goddamn,
you know what I mean?
F that.
They one summer night. The colorism wouldn't work, and even if it did, I would have added in, right? Like, if she was significantly darker, then we could have talked about like Louis' colorism because he's Creole, and like when he saw her as her sweet little girl, she was this light skin, whatever, and then once they're in a war-torn Europe, he remembers her more vividly, and he was like, "Oh shit, she was dark skinned. I forgot." That would have been cool too. But even still, even in the variation of her being a little bit darker, of her not having green eyes, that can come from, hey, I was romanticizing her and clearing the mind of these Creole women that I was raised on, and the standard of beauty that I was raised on. And now that I'm getting my memories back, now that I'm reading this, now that Daniel's helping me I'm remembering how she really looks. And that's just, to my point earlier, the fact that they wrote themselves in a way that everything could be explained by the fact that they're narrating it.
Opens you up to the possibilities where you could even say the recasting was different. You know what I mean? Which is an element, because that's how I mean, I just love it. It's a very meta way to tell the story, and I think it's amazing. You know what I mean?
Memories the Monster. Incredible tagline. I read that, and that's when I came up with it. Once I saw Memories the Monster, I was like, that's a fact. Their worst enemy right now in the storytelling is the fact that we're asking him to remember something from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, the camera is...
the camera paying for dramatic effect.
Where are we going?
It said, say what? Yeah.
It's a paid actor. But
it's been moving the whole time. I thought I was going crazy. I was like, hold on.
I was like, nah. I tried to turn it off, but it's tracking me, and I'm too animated. So
no, I love it.
Like,
I love
trying to keep up.
That's hilarious. That being said, though, I did want to ask you guys this question. That being that Louis is an unrelatable narrator, and Louis is arguably bad, just like Lestat, do you think that Claudia is justified in wanting to kill Louis? Or not Louis, but Lestat?
I don't know about justified. I'm not really. I think, honestly, the discussion about justification when we're talking about vampires is what are we even doing? Honestly,
that's true.
Like eons at this point. Like, is a star justified for supernovaing? Is a weird, but like
I get that perspective. Yeah.
I totally understand why a child would want to kill their parent.
Yeah.
You know,
especially one with those type of inhibitions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it makes sense for her to be like, yo, like you got him on lock, and whatever this is unhealthy for both of you. Like this, you not it. And I think in a lot of ways, I mean, I love season 1, how they portray that betrayal as a coming of age almost of sorts. Like the chess game, that was one of my favorite fucking episodes. And she was just like, oh, hold up, I gotta be like 7 steps ahead of you. You right. All right. Just like, just leave a little bit for me. Just leave a little bit, but go ahead, do your thing. I got you. And she's like,
and I think, and honestly, I think the only reason why she wanted to kill Lestat over Louis is the fact that she couldn't communicate with him and bond with him the way that she could with Lestat, right? There's a mystical element to being a maker versus being a fledgling, and them being siblings, right? Yeah, they were parents, but them being siblings gave them that connection where they were listening to each other's thoughts, like feeling, they could feel each other as well. And, you know, she didn't have that connection with Lestat. And he tried, right? He would take her out to kill. He would try, but you can't compete with someone that is that close to you. And I peeped back when she was calling Louis her father and Lestat her, like, uncle or, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, already why would she not call Lestat? Because that girl's biracial. Either one could have been her father. But she was clear to be like, hey, Louis, my father. And I was like, already you're drawing a line in the sand. You're saying this is, you know, this is someone I'm closer to. This is familiar. And even like reasons why she was like, I need to kill Lestat, she wasn't even there. Right? She didn't see the argument coming up to him, dropping him from the top. She didn't see. There's so many times she didn't see the way Louis was talking to him. Including when he begged him to make Claudia. And so her vision, like ours, of Lestat is very skewed and molded by Louis.
Yeah, that's a really great perspective, and it kind of makes sense where because Louis is appearing as this victim, you know what I mean, that she feels like though she must save him. You know what I mean? Because he's to be honest, he does look at times it looks as though like from her perspective that he can't do this. You know what I mean? And maybe he didn't end up killing him, you know what I'm saying? And then Claudia resents him for that, but like in some ways, and I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think that it makes a lot of sense why she would view him as like I got to kill Lestat because Louis will never do it. Louis will never break this tie. You know? I think that's
the arc of emotional maturity for her in the first season was the coldest thing I've ever fucking seen. Like, because I went back and watched like the movie with Kirsten Dunst, and she didn't really get to do a lot of that. But like going from like a proper child to being like 30 something over the course of that was really cool to watch. But at the same time, over the course of vampire years, she's still a fucking baby. Which is it's hard for the audience to reconcile because you're like, she grown now, but like
she wasn't, and I think her being 13 really skewed that as well, right? Kirsten Dunst is 5 at the time, or like 8. She was supposed to be like 8 or something like that.
Wow.
So I think that was something else that I think kind of did a disservice to Claudia's character, was because she looked like a woman most of the time, right?
She looked grown.
I was like, this girl, they'd be like, you too young. I'm like, why are you sending her with the children? This don't make sense. Obviously, child labor laws is an issue, but I think that was a plight that she could kind of overcome with makeup and clothing. Word to that girl Madeline, like trying to hit, right? She was like, I need to be in love with her. But her emotions are also frozen in time. She's a preteen, and that's amplified and perpetual, her hormones and her brain chemistry. And that's what Armand was kind of trying to tell Louis, like, listen, she's fine now. She's going to go crazy. Like, give her 100 years or something of her perpetually being, like, we going crazy and we're 20s. 30s. Imagine if you were 13.
That's
everybody
crazy.
Saw you as 13, you know?
Yeah. And then also feeling 13, like all the hormones and emotions, like you said, like, that's a crazy time. I was doing crazy shit at 13, bro. Like, I would not want to be trapped in that. That's like the worst age to be trapped in, bro. It's a very transformative feeling. So I understand why the vampire law was like you cannot make a child vampire.
Oh,
It's cruel. It's
I
cruel.
think that was the first thing I thought though when I did see like what I was saying, like it seemed weird. Like when they made her, I thought it was weird that that they didn't talk about the fact that she's so fucking young. Like it was like it was a blip, and I was like, hold up, I feel like this deserves a bigger discussion. I was really angry at the show. I was like, are we not going? And then they see it come back around in season 2. I was like, never mind.
We got it. Yeah. Do you think? All right, I want to ask you guys the big thing that happened for me in season 2 was the death of Claudia. I think most people probably. How were y'all feeling when that happened? Because I ain't gonna lie, I was a wreck. I was watching that shit. I was like, no.
I was still hoping that they changed it. I was like, maybe they changed the story because I knew she was going to die.
Yeah, because of Interview with a Vampire, the original movie that I saw as well.
The movie, the book. I mean, that's the whole thing. And even before then, the way that they're talking about Claudia is as if they're dead, right? Even Daniel, who he hasn't even said, is like, so she's for sure dead, right? Is that why she's not around? But I was like, maybe she's working with the Talamasca. Like, I had all these things about Claudia. And there's a scene, and I made a video about this too, where she says, this is a stoning. And I was like, cowards, this is a lynching. And Claudia, you know what that is. Like, bring it up. And so does Madeline. Like, they were lynching in Europe. People were like, well, we're in Europe. I was like, they were lynching was their shit too. Like,
for sure. Like, where you think they got it from? Nigga, like they came from England.
Actually, Nazis were studying this Jim Crow and was like,
for sure.
Hitler had it and was like, yo, y'all see what they doing in America? This is ill.
Yeah, we need to make it just like this. They removed the total native population. They got motherfucking black people as slaves, second class citizens. This is genius. You know what I'm saying?
You can't dismantle it with a couple laws. It's going to take hundreds of years. He was right. And so to watch that trial, to watch it be so unjust, to watch it be so unfair in front of an audience with 2 black people and them to give the pass to the white woman, that's
crazy.
He was like, you don't got to do this. Like, it's not your problem. I was like, what are we saying here? And I'm glad she stuck up for us.
Yeah.
She's an ally for real.
Yeah, she died with us.
I was so mad about that. She was so good, and I was like, wait, her too. Man,
every actor, even the ones that I didn't like Santiago, I loved. Like when Santiago was teasing Louis, because Louis was trying to play them like they were stupid. Let's be real, right?
He was swinging. Yeah, he was like Louis that whole season, bro. He was just like. He was like going too far with it. You know what I mean? He was like, bro, you swinging your dick a little too wide, bro. You can't just come in here and fuck up everything. You know what I'm saying? What were you saying?
Like, he knows they can read minds. I was so confused why he was lying like that. And not even that. He don't think none of them ever went to America. Yeah. Can you imagine Gambit was like, I'm from Chicago? What are we saying? Louis one step above him. He not Cajun, he Creole, but his accent is so thick.
Yeah, it ain't no Chicago accent, nigga.
Why are we talking like this? It was so I was glad when he kind of clocked him and he was like imitating him at that restaurant. And he was like, that sounded like Creole to me. At the very least, he don't think he ever had some Creole people came to France. Like,
come on, bro. Be for real, nigga. Like, I think that's a really good point. And I also think that I lost my thought. Damn it. I had a good thought. I was gonna tag on to that.
Santiago, we were saying we don't like him. Louis was playing in their faces, all of their faces, lying to them.
Oh, I was gonna say that
break the rules.
I feel as though that Louis was kind of his whole character is like defined by death in a way. Like initially it was Lestat, and he tried to become a new person after that, and then also Claudia season 2. He kind of like, all right. Granted, he ended it with his like big dick energy, going around like motherfucking the vampire hunter and shit, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately he had to become someone new again. You know what I'm saying?
But you're not even going even beyond that. The story starts, he's a pimp because his father died. And then he becomes a vampire because his brother died. And then he decides to go against Lestat because his sister died. He gets mad at Lestat because his mother dies. And then so you're right. His whole life is about death and how he reacts to it. And I think he never actually deals with that trauma, right? And he's just perpetually mourning.
That's why you become a vampire, right? Like, I can't handle this. Fuck it. Like, I'm
Make sure I never have to do it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's why I want to talk about Armand because
please. Oh, I was about to say that. Fuck Armand, nigga. I'm so mad at him.
I don't even know where to start. But I want to jump into I saw a YouTube today, and I wish I would have brought it up. But like this woman said, and I don't know if this is factual or actual, but it was saying how like even the bookcases are floating, and only Armand can get to the books in Dubai because Louis can't get to the books and Louis can't fly. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like Armand is a master manipulator, tactician, and weaponizes vulnerability. Like Lestat is all like move. Armand is like, what do you mean? Even the way he approaches Louis in the beginning is like, hey guys. Or Lestat, when you see him in that Lestat flashback, he's like, hey, and then all of a sudden he's like, you're doing too much. Relax. And you're like, whoa, where did this come from? And so, Armand was a journey. For me.
No,
Armand
for sure.
was a journey. Even within the character himself, when we first meet him, he's setting laws, right? He comes up to Louis and Claudia and was like, yeah, don't know how to speak. Like, we've been waiting for y'all to come.
Y'all rude as fuck.
And he's like, don't do that again. And then he tells them what the rules are. But then he falls for Louis, and you're right. Once he starts falling for Louis, he tries to control him, and we see the same thing happen with Lestat. The issue is Lestat don't roll like that, right? Like when back in the day when he does the flashback, he sees Lestat and he's like, "Let me kill that boy over there. I don't like him." And Lestat pulls up with a cross on his back and dismantles his coven. He said, "Don't play with me." I'm not him. But you're right, Armand is so big at being manipulative and to like take control and make himself this victim. Like even him pretending like he had nothing to do with that play, being all sad in the corner. Sign your work.
Sign your work, boy. Stand on it, nigga.
Because in his mind, Louis was about to die.
He was.
So, like, why in Louis' last moment are you showing him a lie? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you in the corner? Can't look. Yes, you can. This is your shit, right?
This is what you was planning to play, right?
Notes. Director notes.
That nigga was. That nigga. He had director notes and everything. He's like, okay, now you go over here, you go over there.
This is a little too heavy-handed here. We need to edit this part out.
That shit is crazy.
And the perpetual cycle of that as the same manipulation with fake Rashid. When he was snapping, we was saying, yo, fake Rashid. That whole like 2 episodes.
Daniel was so unserious. The whole time he's like, yo, fake Rashid. How it? Nah, fake Rashid. That's crazy, right? Fake Rashid. And I'm like, Daniel, if you don't leave this poor man alone.
That's hilarious.
But he's like, I'm Rashid. I don't do anything. Oopsies. Like, fuck out of here, man.
He was a tactician from the very beginning. And even in a way that he didn't want like Louis' story to be told, and he was like there begrudgingly, you know what I'm saying? It's like he doesn't want this story to come up because he gonna get caught up, nigga. Can you imagine the stomach feeling in Armand's stomach when they was going through this whole story, nigga? And Armand's stomach is like it's like when you're talking to 2 people and they in the same club in the same house at the same time, you're like, oh, nigga, my stomach hurt, nigga.
So my question is, do you believe that Louis asked Armand to erase his memories from that night?
No.
Really? I think he did. I still think he did. I think that Armand does erase memories, but I think that night with Daniel when he tried to kill himself, and he was like, just that emotional turmoil. He was like, stop it.
I wouldn't put it past Armand though. You know what I'm saying? Like that is some Armand ass shit. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what's so beautiful about it. What is real? And when you're proven to be a liar, the only thing I could really trust as a constant is that you will lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's good because even the way he says, like, "Oh, you told me to do it," so quickly too, and I'm like,
he didn't say it quickly.
He didn't say it quickly, but like, but it's like to even come up with that lie, I'm like, that nigga is smooth, bro. He was ready.
Like, what would you even? Well, no, you know what? I wouldn't know because I'm back and forth. Because right now, when you was even talking about Lestat rolling up, I'm like, was that even Lestat's idea? Because even afterwards, he's like, yo, to kill that coven, like afterwards, he's like, yeah, I've been wanting to say that shit for a while. I just couldn't do it. So I'm like, yo, was this even his idea? So I'm like, man, maybe he did. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't.
Now Lestat's not innocent from the case. I don't care that he saved Louis. He was still at practice.
He watched his daughter die, bro. That was crazy.
At practice. He was auditioning. He knew what the end was. So I was like, listen, I get it. We like Lestat a little bit more because he was advocating for Claudia. But at the end of the day, to your point, he let Claudia die. He could have came up on Louis and beat him up and said, listen, your boy Armand is trying to line you up. He didn't do that. Mm-hmm. He didn't even, when they approached him, he didn't even say, you're with a snake. He let him leave with the man who just tried to kill him.
He said, we'll see how long this holds up. And now when he said that, I was like,
he's a petty king.
Yeah, that was some petty ass shit. And it was like, nigga, you knew the whole time. You didn't say nothing. You just let me fucking fold up with this nigga that was about to kill me, was setting me up, and then somehow just magically was like on my side. I ain't go deal with. Because the thing is, like, my thing is like Armand, like, did he feel guilty? You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I think he felt a little guilty.
Because he didn't let him go. He did break him out. But also, like, you let Claudia die. You was gonna let him die. So now you feel guilty though? It's kind of crazy, bro.
Guilt is I feel like also for them is, I mean, they're the ultimate compartmentalizers because they live with their memories for eons. When you have so many versions of yourself in your head that are constantly repelling because you do not die, that's your only companion. So the amount, like, how many times have they done something that was absolutely reprehensible and that just is like, oh, I feel bad. Oh, now I'm done. Box.
Yeah.
We good. I'm moving on to the next thing because I ain't carrying that shit for eternity. Fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, so what is even guilt to Armand, like, at that point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I get you. Yeah. Yeah, that's a he's a weirdo. And that's a great perspective, I think, as well. Because it's like they are so old and they are like dealing with so many versions of themselves that it's like it's probably very easy for him to forgive himself or to allow him to take a new course of actions and immediately right after, which is what he did. You know what I mean? He literally's like, all right, I'll set you free. He heard about the shit that was going to happen too. He didn't say nothing to his coven. You know what I mean? But it's like at the end of the day, you still at that moment you did allow your person to be killed. And I think Louis was like, you know, more than, I don't want to say justified, but like I understand where he was coming from in that perspective. It's like, punch that nigga in the wall, Louis. You know what I'm saying? That nigga deserved that shit. Little sneaky ass.
Why is Louis so strong? I mean, like, don't spoil nothing, but like Louis is like him. I didn't know he was him like that. Did they explain that, or is that something for later? Like, I don't.
I'm not sure.
I mean, versus when, like at the end, when he took it.
When he goes at Armand, even like at the end, at the very end, where he's like, "Come see about me. I'm here."
Yeah, I'm like, nigga, you ballsy.
I don't think he's. I think he just got hands. You know what I mean? I think it showed that they are particularly like Santiago. He can't freeze people like Santiago. He can't he can't fly. But I think he just from the gutter. And
like, I'm about this life, nigga.
He about it. He's about it. And that's one thing about Armand that I think I wanted to add is that he has this chip on his shoulder. And I think that's why he tries to make himself perpetually the victim, because at one point he was a slave. And I think some of that is insecurity, is that like he feels he has to dominate people and that he can't do it in the way that Lestat was, who grew up a rich, beautiful white man. You know what I mean? And so the way that they interact with other people, the way that they, kind of use conflict, and the way that they kind of try to diffuse it is going to be different. Because like, and even after he became a vampire, Armand was still a slave. Like he started a vampire life as a slave, and then was still Indian, was brown. Europe. So like
through Europe is crazy. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All these things compiled on him, and he finally starts to get power. And so with that, he's like heavily grasping on it, but he realized that the way that he wants power is being idolized. And that's why he's like, I need to be perceived in this way. Yeah,
him and Lestat have a decent amount in common, but from like different perspectives in a way, which is like interesting to think about that dichotomy and like how Louis just finds himself in toxic relationship after toxic relationship. Is that yeah, he do. It's like they all have so much trauma and they're all traumatizing themselves, and it's like it's just a crazy. I mean, I really felt this show was like one of the best shows I've seen in my life. I was like, this is like top tier, like good show.
That's why
yeah.
I tell people if I'm recommending something, I'd be like, word the interview. That means like, because I'm the one who pushed him every day, was like, watch this show, please watch it. And he was like, Frank, it can't. And I was like, it's better than House of the Dragon, I promise. Yeah. And he was like, better than House of the Dragon? Okay. And then he watched it and said, Frankie, I understand you were bugging me, but I need to bug. This is the energy we need to have. Yeah. People are sleeping on this show.
Yeah. And
I agree. I think it's written so I think the Penguin is coming up to be that type of show. Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys are up to date. Episode 3 is just as good as episode 1.
We'll have to check it out. Yeah. We'll have to check it out.
So good. It's so good. It's written so well, and it's like people who I thought I wouldn't like, I'm rooting for. Like the Penguin, I didn't think I'd like the Penguin.
Yeah,
character.
How do you make this thing likable? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, hold on, like you rooting for him.
Yeah.
The way he's pulling solutions out his ass, you're rooting for him. The way people are reacting, the subtle acting between everyone, you see him being fake, you see him doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
You don't even miss Batman. People are like, Batman's not there. I was like, why are y'all worried about Batman?
Yeah.
He don't need to. Why would he even be here? They fighting in their cribs.
Yeah, for real.
It's the only non-Batman show that I'm like, I do not miss Batman.
Yeah.
Real.
You watching it too, David?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm out the loop. Let me tap in.
People who never touch Batman would never touch Batman. My brother-in-law is like quintessential Harlem nigga. Loves the show.
Yeah,
loves the show.
We're gonna have to watch it, and we'll invite you back on the pod if you want to come back for Penguin. Before we end the episode, I just want to say, create a space. Is there anything that you guys want to say? Any last comments about anything that we talked about today? Just before we end, just so we make sure we get it all out. You know what I'm saying? For clip purposes, but also just making sure that we feel like we also have said that we want to say and touched on everything we want to touch on during this conversation.
I want to talk about the romance. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah. No, actually,
go ahead. Yeah.
To tie in.
Yeah.
I definitely want to say, like, when you're looking at messy relationships and people who are flawed, everyone is flawed, and that's okay. I don't think we always have to look for a hero in stories, and I think that we're so like desperately trying to grasp who's the good person, who should I root for, and the fact of the matter is, some people are just terrible. Everyone in this show is terrible. Even Claudia, she's a serial killer who collects tchotchkes of people she murdered. Not great. But they can still be likable. That you can still like qualities of someone and acknowledge that they're not great. And I implore people to definitely try to look at those nuances to understand, like, not everyone who I like, not every character that I enjoy is a good person or needs this reason, for me to like them.
I always say you can only meet fiction as deeply as you've met yourself. And I think a lot of times fans will do that on purpose because they relate to the character in some way, or they haven't addressed certain traumas in their own life and how they act. And they're almost using the show as a projection to like feel that validation, like, see what happens when the girls don't like me, you know what I mean, or you know what I'm saying. So it's like I think it's hard for people to make that separation because they haven't dealt with that themselves in their own life. But I think media can be a very good tool in waking a lot of that up, you know what I mean, and like starting to practice looking at these things differently and understanding that, like, again, like David said earlier, piece of shit, the greatest ever, piece of shit. It's like, no, we're somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you're only human and they're only vampires, but you're going to try your best to do your best. And you have to acknowledge where sometimes you're not your best. You know what I mean? And that's just life. You know what I'm saying? But I can't wait for the day that society as a whole gets there, because I do hate that the idea that we always have to idolize the characters and we can't. And I think it does the characters a disservice. It doesn't really fully appreciate the character in their totality when you just say, oh no, he's the good guy, I justify everything. Well, no, nigga, this is a great, I think about like Aaron Yeager, I think about fucking Walter White, you know what I'm saying, from Breaking Bad, you know what I'm saying, like these motherfuckers are idolized by fans, you know what I'm saying. It's like, well, they're not meant to be idolized. it's a message, bro. The medium is a message. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, great.
And that's why they have people like Skylar from Breaking Bad as a top villain.
Crazy.
Over like
crazy.
Joffrey Baratheon.
Crazy.
That's wild.
That shit is crazy, bro. And that's like, I'm like, that's gotta be misogyny. As soon as I saw that, I was like,
stop.
Yeah.
They missed everything with that shit. But also to y'all's point, like, I think like something one of my acting coaches says is like, we don't make fucking TV and film about people who have their shit together. Full stop. Like we don't. Like the point of it is they're flawed. I remember like when people started realizing that, man, the people on Friends are kind of shitty. That's weird. Like, nigga, of course, like that's the point. Like we are looking at flawed individuals, and specifically when media doesn't work, and that's what children want. They want like is like, oh, tell me who's the good person, who's the bad person. Specifically, things do not work when you do that. That's bad art. When you're like, this is the thing, feel this way. Like that's the problem with both Joker movies. Like it's a sermon at that point, and you don't get a space to experience your own flawed humanity when people do that to you. So man, like I love the fact that we're couching these toxic quote unquote relationships, these relationships with genuinely, nobody's gonna be like, Lestat's the guy. Like, no, you're right. Like Frankie said, they're all objectively terrible. Where do we go from there?
Yeah, where do we go from here? I think that's great. And is that all you wanted to add?
Oh, I did want to talk about the fact.
No, go ahead.
The show is
talk about romance.
The show is gay as fuck, and it does not like feel like it doesn't feel like other shows that are gay as shit. Like it felt very like also. Like, like
I forgot these niggas was gay.
Yeah, for real. Which is great. Which is how it should be, right?
It's like everybody on the show is kind of gay because, like, of course you would be, but like everybody on the show is kind of gay, and you do not fucking think about that shit. You're just, I'm like halfway through the first season, like, hold up, wait. You know
what really took it out of me for that is when Louis was on his big dick swinging arc, right? And he told Armand, get the fuck in the coffin, get in the coffin, face down. You know what's up, nigga.
And they acknowledge it in the first season when they're moving around Louisiana. But obviously France is way more like queer open. But I thought it was so interesting at the trial where someone calls them faggots, and Lestat is like, oh, for real? You ain't shit. You can't even read a map. And I was like, exactly. Stop ruining our fun. You know what I mean? And that's essentially what are you saying?
Yeah, he's like talking to those bigoted. I mean, if there's anybody who's a fan of the show and is like super bigoted, I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, dog.
Why are you here?
Why are you here? But that was a stand-in for like definitely that conversation. I think I'm glad they put that in there. I think it's great, man. I think again, and it's like for the most part, it's like you forget that it even is a thing. You know what I'm saying? Do you guys feel like being a vampire is a allegory for queerness? And do you think that is a good thing to do when we understand that being queer and being a vampire can be similar, but also like being a vampire, there's actually something to be scared of? You know what I mean? Because this nigga has superpowers, which is reasonable. So do you think that blurs the line there sometimes?
I never equated it to being queer.
Okay.
I do think that most vampires would be queer. Because like you alive forever, you just one sex. That's nuts. I think any like superhero that begins to leave Earth, like any space person, would be clear pansexual. Because once you have sex with a green person, like where are we going from here?
What are we going?
The only women? Stop it. She has horns.
She has horns.
I know vampires are supposed to be a direct allegory to something. I'm not quite sure.
Could it be race, you think? No.
Could it be race? I don't know. I Google it real quick. Hold on.
No, it's all good.
I know, for me, vampires, I feel like are just, I mean, it's just open, right? I think they're so open. And the reason I think I even pointed out the idea of control is just like that's such a powerful, like, universal allegory that we all fucking deal with, is constantly trying to control our realities. But I think you can really paint on just about anything. But I don't know if they're directly that thing as well.
Also, So they're saying that vampires have been used for different archetypes. The first one is deviance, which can include like sexuality, religious, or social deviance. Fear of the unknown. Because they're a constant. So they're supposed to be like what happens when you enact change on something that's perpetually themselves. Marginalized impulses, class struggle, racial conference, and change is more fear of the unknown. So I think it's the eye of the beholder, and I think it's also whoever's writing the story. And Rice wanted to tell a queer story, and I do know Claudia is supposed to represent her daughter who like died of pneumonia or something, and that's why Claudia is so young. So I think for Anne Rice specifically, it was more about change and relationships and how that evolves for people who want to stay the same.
I think that's great. That's great. There's also one thing I wanted to say, just because I think we touched on it a little bit, but I also was like, as a communist, I'm like watching the intersections of race and class, being talked about so much in the show, and like granted, it wasn't like, I think I told Frankie this, she's like, that's not even the meat and potatoes of the show, and it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Because there was this whole other layer, but I thought it was like especially interesting watching this, but watch Louis exist in this world as a black man, but also dangling, being on top of white people as far as being a vampire now. And then also like when David talked about, Louis becoming a vampire is kind of like his own spiritual awakening in a sense, you know what I'm saying? And I thought, I think it's just, and also like thinking about being a black person and having to fight against these stereotypes about black people, even though, it's like, not me, nigga. I'm not that nigga. You know what I'm saying? And like you hear, you are a very exceptional nigga. God damn it. You know what I'm saying? So and that's for me, like as a black man, I was just so angry watching those scenes, and it's like, that shit pissed me off. You know what I'm saying? Because we've all been there.
Yeah. I think that represents what intersectionality is, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Yeah, in some
shout out Kimberly Crenshaw, goddamn it.
Facts. In some ways, like I'm a black woman, but even me, right? There are spaces like if I'm in a queer space, I still have the upper hand, right?
Yeah,
if I'm next to a trans black woman, I'll have a social standing a little bit higher than them. Even if I'm around another black woman who's darker than me, you know what I mean? Who may weigh more than me. Those things will put me on a different level, and it's about recognizing that intersectionality
for sure,
and understanding that, like, yes, in a lot of ways I'm discriminated against, but there are other groups that I hold a higher social standings from. I need to acknowledge that, and I think with Louis, it's coming to terms with that, and he has a hard time. He's like,
he definitely does. He wouldn't make Claudia, nigga, like dehumanize the fuck out of her too. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, awesome.
I think Louis also always trying to be like transcend that. He's always trying to be like, I'm beyond that. I'm beyond all of this now. And it's like every single time he does it, he gets dragged back into it. Like, wait, young man.
You ain't.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. Any final thoughts?
Nah, man, I'm good. That was great.
All right. I fucking love this episode. Frankie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for being so accommodating. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. I forget how much I love talking to you until we get into a conversation, and I'm like, oh my God, let me bug this nigga every day. Every time I have a question, let me go run it by Frankie and see what she thinks. So we can just have this conversation because it's so much fun. You know what I mean? It really is, and I enjoy you as a creator and a person. And I cherish you in this space as a creator. So thank you so much for being here, bro. And Frankie, tell them where you can find you.
Yeah, you could find me. I be heavy on Threads, y'all, but everywhere. Fantastic Frankey. I know everybody always laughs. Threads is where it's at.
I need to step it up. I need to step it up.
But yeah, you can find me everywhere at Fantastic Frankey. Frankey. I do breakdowns similar to this, but in bite size, 8 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. On my page, I'm covering Penguin right now, Agatha. When What We Do in the Shadows drops, I'll do it. And I covered all of season 2 of Interview with the Vampire. I may go back.
Go check that.
Definitely check it out. Got me a lot of money this summer.
Turn up.
You'll be in a great community with that.
Awesome.
yeah, I review movies and stuff too. So thank you guys. This was a great space to be in.
Yeah, awesome. Any new shows? You said you were really excited. The Shadows That Walk Within.
What we do in the shadows? It's like The Office.
Love it.
But they're vampires. It's funny as fuck.
Oh, wow.
The final season's coming out.
Okay.
That's coming out. Vox Machina's out, but I don't really review it. But that's a Dungeons and Dragons show. I feel like something else is coming out very soon. Oh, and that new Doom show is coming out.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm really scared because that is a bad book. Objectively, it's based on like the worst Doom book. Not the worst, but
really?
Frank died at like 6, and that's like 8, 9, 10, I think. After that, and so it's a slog. I've read through the entire Dune series more times than and I haven't finished that one. Which is
fuck yeah, I love Dune too. Yeah,
maybe they'll take
it looks better than it reads already, so I'm very excited.
All right, well, thank you guys again, Frankie. I'm Goofy Wise.
I'm motivational speaker,
and this has been Mindful Blerd. Yeah, see y'all next time.